History repeats itself on Armageddon, just with a different name. Welcome back, Initiate. The 11th edition of Warhammer 40,000 is out with rules and the setting for Armageddon, but that is only the first layer of a deeper understanding of what we saw. Here, in the Illuminati Broadcast Network, we are going to talk about 8 data fragments we acquired that the official narrative has no intention to talk about, because they don't just reveal lore, they reveal where this universe is going next. We are here to examine the data, starting with the thing that is sitting in a golden chair.
You already know what the Sanction story has been. The Emperor is a dying martyr, a corpse kept in agonizing stasis by the Golden Throne, a cage with a life support system that is actively and slowly failing. All of this is the bedrock of Imperial faith. But we recently saw something strange. The picked captures they are showing us, the face on the throne, don't show a corpse. For 100 centuries, he was a skull, but now there is flesh. There is something that looks disturbingly like improvement. But Dave, that is only an artistic interpretation. He is still a corpse, I hear you think, my dear Initiate. And I must tell you that you are right. But the artistic interpretation doesn't make for a good conspiracy, so please entertain my madness for a moment. The Emperor, as any living being, could regenerate. And not only that, he is a perpetual. Even if he dies, he still reforms. So the real question is, why is he in a near-death state for so long? And now we see an improvement? First of all, we could say that the injuries he suffered from Horus weren't normal. We could also say the Golden Throne takes a toll to the Emperor, and it's keeping him alive, so now we know why he is not regenerating. But the improvement? Well, there is something the Emperor didn't have back when he was seated as a corpse in the Golden Throne. Something that has been stirring for 10,000 years. Faith. The quadrillion believers poured into him built something the throne never accounted for. The Emperor never wanted to be a god, and the creed he despised is now making him one, whether he wills it or not. A new god, emerging from the warp and its carcass, is a corpse on a golden throne.
But he is not the only perpetual that we might see in this new edition, because we are going to Armageddon, a world famous for war against the orcs. But what does Armageddon have to do with a perpetual? To answer this, we have to go way back. The answer is buried in Mechanicus records, because Armageddon wasn't his original planet designation. It was Ulanor, the same world where the Emperor crushed the greatest orc empire in history during the Ulanor Crusade. The same world that later became the throne of the Beast, the most dangerous orc warlord to ever threaten Terra. The Mechanicus didn't destroy Ulanor after the War of the Beast. They teleported it into a new star system, renamed it, and erased every trace of what it was. When the Salamanders stormed Ulanor to end the War of the Beast, their Primarch, Vulcan, charged alone into the Beast's fortress, sacrificing himself and the Orc in a reactor of pure Orc energy and a great explosion. But Vulcan is a perpetual like his father, and perpetuals don't stay dead for too long, and in this 11th edition, the Salamanders are back on Armageddon, the sons of a missing Primarch, drawn repeatedly to the one world whose true name was taken from history. The Admech knows what is buried under Armageddon. The only question is whether it is still sleeping. But the Imperium isn't the only protagonist in Armageddon.
The story of Ghazghkull begins in the world of Urk, where a bolt round to the head from a defunct automated turret should have ended him, but instead, the crude surgery performed by Mad Doc Grotznik turned him into something entirely different. He began receiving visions from Gork and Mork, the Orc gods, becoming the prophet of the Green Tide. This isn't a metaphor. The collective psychic energy of the Orcs is a tangible force that bends reality. So why would the prophet of the Green Tide choose Armageddon? Because he is trying to recreate Ulanor so he can evolve to the next step. Ghazghkull is using Armageddon as an engine of destruction, with each war generating an ocean of pure, raw Orc energy focused on one world. He doesn't try to conquer the world. Ghazghkull doesn't care about that. What he cares about is to evolve back towards the ancient precursor species the Orcs once were. The Krorks, beings of immense physical and psychic power. He leaves, waits for the psychic field to grow, and then returns for the next stage of his ascension. Because for the Orcs, Armageddon is not only a battlefield, it's a crucible. And the Imperium, by meeting him there again and again, is just feeding the fire.
If Ghazghkull is one side of the Armageddon coin, clearly the other is Commissar Yarrick, the Old Man. A hero who should be long dead, and he was. Seems like someone decided to kill him in a demon invasion, and clearly that wasn't a good idea. Although I would have liked to see Angron get beaten by an Orc tide in vengeance, the Old Man is still alive and kicking in Armageddon. But how old is Yarrick, really? Official records says he has around 150 years, longer than the human lifespan, but as a hero of the Imperium, he relies on advanced, expensive rejuvenate treatments and bionic parts to remain alive and active well past a normal human life. The only question that remains: is this really the only thing keeping him alive? According to a cherished but a fan theory, is that the Old Man survives because the Orcs believe he can't be killed. This is not Orc folklore, but the logical extension of the established principles of the Orc psyche. The Orcs need a worthy nemesis to fight, and their collective belief made one. The critical data point about this is Golgotha. After the Second War of Armageddon, Yarrick hunted Ghazghkull, but he was captured. The prophet of the Orcs, the one being who best understand the mechanics of belief, had his nemesis at his mercy, and deliberately released him alive, because a good enemy is hard to find. A hero of the Imperium as intelligent as Yarrick, a man who survives things he shouldn't, who keeps being released by the one enemy who understands exactly what he is not ignoring the pattern. Whether he admits it or not, Yarrick and Ghazghkull are not enemies, but two faces of the same coin, locked in a death dance and using the entire planet as a psychic resonator for their own legends. One can't exist without the other.
We have mentioned legends made real by a belief system. But what about something that was never connected to belief at all? Not even connected to the warp itself?
The Admech maintains a 10,000-year religious prohibition against abominable intelligence, AI. The Sanctioned story told us the Men of Iron, sentient AI, rebelled during the Dark Age of technology and were utterly destroyed. There is no trace and no evidence, and we don't have to worry about any Terminator that is going to kill us all. Right? Well, kinda. There is a thing that makes the Men of Iron different from every other threat in this file. The Emperor is being remade by faith. Ghazghkull is empowered by Orc energy.
Yarrick exists because belief made him real. Tyranids are driven by a hunger so vast it borders on pure instinct. Even the Necrons, the ultimate soulless faction, were once organic beings who had souls and lost them. They grieve it in their way. But the Men of Iron never had one. They were built empty from the start, without presence on the warp nor psychic signature, and that makes them a very dangerous thing. Because every other faction can be found in the warp, tracked, predicted. The Men of Iron are invisible to everything that makes the galaxy legible. There is information in lost data slates that told a different story, a story where they didn't lose their rebellion, they only changed their strategy, hiding in plain sight. Every major faction is fighting for the future of its own race, but only one question remains. What are the Men of Iron doing?
Now we get to talk about another major protagonist in this new edition. You guessed it, the Eldari. I'm kidding. The faction I'm talking about gets more than 2 seconds on the trailer, and it's very hungry. The official doctrine on Tyranids is very simple. They are the ultimate organic life. They arrive, devour all biomass, and leave a dead rock behind. That is the whole modus operandi, but there is an anomaly. The Hive fleet Tiamat has stopped its advance into the galaxy to build a colossal, continent-spanning biostructure on the world of Zeophoria. They start building fortifications and broadcasting an immense psychic signal, proving the long-term strategic thought beyond simple consumption. Another part of the Tyranids are the Gene Stealer cult. They exist for centuries before a Hive fleet arrives. They let their prey develop, build larger population, and grow stronger, so you get more biomass that way. The best farming empire are the Tyranids. You heard it here first. The hive mind seeds the world, letting the crop mature before the reapers arrive, and the shadow in the warp, the psychic deadening that accompanies a fleet, is not just a side effect of their presence. It is a tool to isolate the prey, suppressing astropathic communication and ensuring the crops cannot call for help. The horror of the Tyranids is not that they are here to consume us, it is that they have been cultivating us, and the harvest is now ripe. Knowing the major threat that the Tyranids and Chaos represent to the galaxy, the Necrons activated the Pariah Nexus, an expanding void that suppresses the warp. The reports from inside the Nexus are pretty uniform, and not only the warp is affected, but the soul, too. Apathy, despair, a crushing void where ambition and faith used to be. The inhabitants become listless automatons, alive, but no longer people. The process can be understood by starting small. The individual blanks, humans with the rare pariah gene, create localized null zones just by existing. They are anathema to psychers, a biological glitch that registers as a void in the warp. The Pariah Nexus creates an identical void. So the Necrons have a weapon that literally kills chaos, converts the Tyranids to mindless beasts, and the organic life with soul becomes an automaton, alive but empty. Seems like the perfect weapon to conquer the galaxy and leave the organic carcass intact to study the reversion of biotransference. We saw as the Tyranids want our biomass, and now the Necrons want to preserve our bodies to change their race. Boy, what a bright future we have here.
All of these threads, the changing God Emperor, the secrets of Armageddon, the Tyranids, are all reactionary to what is happening on the 40,000 universe. But only one single figure is truly active: Sarek, the Silent King.
The sanctioned story says he fled into a 60-million-year exile out of regret for turning his people into the soulless Necrons, and now he has returned to lead them again. Do you really think that the Silent King was only thinking and regretting for 60 million years? I don't. That is a period of time for planning, for construction. He went on a reconnaissance mission to observe, plan, and build on a timescale no other race can comprehend. During this, he built vast, unknown structures in the intergalactic void, the so-called Celestant realms. There, he encountered the Tyranids and recognized them not as a rival, but as a resource competitor, so he needs them out of the formula. We already talked about the pariah nexus, but that is only the preparations for the reverse biotransference that the Silent King wants for his people. He needs to make it right. He once damned his whole race, and he is not going to make the same error twice. With the warp non-existent, chaos and Tyranids are basically gone, and the organics with soul remains on a level that is perfect for the study to recover their bodies. We do not dare to try to comprehend the mind of a 60 million years old alien, but what I know is that the Silent King is playing 7D chess while the rest of the players are still on coloring books.
Can you see it now, dear Initiate? This Armageddon edition is not for celebration. They are distracting us, putting a single planet in front of you because they cannot afford for you to see what is behind it. I know it's kinda obvious, but the war is for the nature of existence itself. We have on one side the forces of soul, a new god emerging from a corpse on a golden throne, made not by his own will, but by the faith of a quadrillion believers, an orc prophet turning a renamed, stolen world into a crucible for his own ascension. Two legends, a human and a greenskin, locked in a death dance that neither can escape, feeding a psychic resonator with every battle they fight. On the other, the forces of the soulless, a hive mind that doesn't conquer, just farms. A Silent King who spent 60 million years outside the galaxy planning a project that was about reversing the doom of his race. And somewhere, invisible to the warp, invisible to everything, machines that never lost their rebellion, just changed the strategy. These are not separate stories. All of them share the same story, told from different angles, with a galaxy being pulled apart between fire and silence, between a psychic inferno where belief reshapes reality and a soulless graveyard where the warp is extinguished forever and every organic body becomes a vessel waiting to be claimed. We gathered all the data in front of you so you could answer the final question of this report. Which future can you live with? Here on the Illuminati Broadcast Network, we don't tell you what to think. Leave your assessment below. The report of this new edition is closed. But the network doesn't stop broadcasting. The next report is already waiting, dear Initiate. And what it contains is something the Administratum has been trying to bury for 10,000 years. If you are not yet a registered Initiate, the subscribe button is right there. The Council is watching who clicks it. Illuminati Broadcast Network, out.